Good morning, everyone. So please take your seats, and the event will begin soon. And good morning, everyone, again. And I'm Sylvia, your MC today. On behalf of the Professional Development Committee of the Hong Kong Library Association, welcome all to our first professional development talk, Navigating the Future of Libraries and AI and Emerging Technologies, co-organized with the Hong Kong Baptist University and the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And well, whether you're joining us here in the Transdisciplinary Discovery Commons TTDC at HKBU Library or virtually via Zoom. So thank you for being with us. And before we get started, I would just like to go over a few housekeeping items with you. So for on-site participants, please set your mobile devices to silent mode. And if you have any questions, so please raise your hand and ask in the Q&A section towards the end. For those Zoom participants, hello here, and your videos and audios have been inactivated. So please type your question in the chat box, and we will address them during the Q&A sections. And also, I would like to remind those, especially for who require for a certificate of attendance, please make sure your Zoom display name is the same one used for registration. And last but not least, please be aware that this event will be recorded, and the recording and the presentation slide will be shared to you after the events. Okay, now let's begin our events. So to officially begin our events, I would like to invite the president of the Hong Kong Library Association, Dr. Khoo Kam-ming, to deliver the opening remarks. Dr. Khoo, please.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome all being here, and also the fans joining us via Zoom. So thank you for joining us today. And Sylvia has talked about the title of this talk, so I need not to repeat again. But I would like to introduce our three speakers. The first one is Mr. Christopher Chan, University Librarian of the Hong Kong Baptist University. The second one is Benjamin Marriott. He's a University Librarian of CUHK, and also Ryun Lee, he's the head of digital initiatives, also from the Hong Kong CUHK. Okay, so I will give a very short introduction. Don't want to waste your time. And that talk will share the experience and insights about the development using AI development for the library to improve user services and user experiences, and the future, how to make AI to make the library great again. Okay, so I think this is a very hot topic about using AI in the library. Okay, you understand that there's some budget cut everywhere, so we have to make use of emerging technologies to improve our efficiency and our application, so to enhance our librarians' ability and capability. Okay, that is why the Hong Kong Library Association would like to introduce and organize this kind of AI talks. Going ahead, we have more talks about AI in the libraries. Okay, we plan about, for example, AI in research, and some of the talks will be about practical use. For example, how to use a large language model, or maybe if our members would like to know more about Python, we are planning to do an introduction to Python and use Python for AI development with hands-on. Okay. So yes, last but not least, and I would like to send my gratitude to our Professional Development Committee. Members are Yuling, Paula, Shurong, and also Sylvia Tan, the MC today. So yes, before we start with this talk, I would like to promotion. Sorry. I would like to get your support for being our Hong Kong LA member. Please feel free to scan this QR code and join as a member. So I'll pass the time back to Sylvia.
So thank you, Dr. Khoo, for the opening remarks. And it's my pleasure to invite three speakers. Please come forward to receive a souvenir as a token of appreciation. Yes, so please come forward. Yes, and our photographer will just take to the photo. Okay, thank you. And so can we take one more photo? So all three speakers stand together and take a photo. Let me change the background. Better. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And now invite all speakers and Dr. Ku to please take their seats and for good photos. So I would like to capture this special moment. So could our photographer please come to the stage and help us to take a good photo? Yes, Terry. Yeah. So on the count of three, let's all smile. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, Terry, and thank you, everyone. So yeah, one more for Terry. Okay, thank you, everyone. And with no further ado, so we will begin our presentation today. So I will pass over the stage to our three distinguished speakers. So yeah, please.
Well, thanks, Sylvia. And good morning, everyone. Let me just make sure I'm switched over to the right screen. Brilliant. And before I get started, and before I forget, I just want to echo Dr. Ku's call to join me in becoming a member of the Hong Kong Library Association if you're not already. And first of all, big thanks to the Hong Kong Library Association for inviting myself and Ben and Ryan to deliver this first talk. It's always a little bit of extra pressure when you're given the souvenir before the presentation. So I've already received my reward, so I better do a good job. But it's a real pleasure too, seriously, to welcome members and friends of the Hong Kong Library Association to my library, to Hong Kong Baptist University Library, and our space here in the Transdisciplinary Discovery Commons. So with my fellow speakers, we've divided it up in the following manner. So at the first part, myself and Ben will sort of summarize our recently published article on the perspectives of librarians in the Greater Bay Area, how we are responding to the challenges and also opportunities presented by the AI revolution. But we wanted to give you something more concrete than that. So we wanted to show you how, based on those findings, what we discovered from that survey, some things that both CUHK Library and also HKBU Library are doing. And I think there's some really, really exciting examples in there that hopefully will provide some inspiration to members. So, did I click in the right spot? There we go. I was worried for a second because I promised Ben at the beginning, no, this is a very reliable pointer, it will work. And then it didn't do anything when I pressed it. So yeah, just some very brief overview. I'm sure members of this audience being library professionals or having an interest in the library professions will have been following the developments in the AI space. And the first thing in our article in the literature review that we talk about is that really AI is nothing new, of course. AI has been discussed by librarians for decades in different contexts. But of course, it is the advent of generative AI. I don't need to give you all the background about ChatGPT, et cetera, getting those millions of users within a few weeks. That's really focused the discussion and created some feeling of urgency within many professions, including the library profession. But there is this gap between the interest and practice, and that's one that we're hoping to bridge through events like this and through also the various initiatives that we're undertaking. And we thought it was really interesting to look at the Chinese context as well. That's where, in our region, what are the specific opportunities, but also potential hurdles as well. And one interesting thing we found looking at just what had been done around attitudes towards AI, that in China, there's generally a more positive attitude towards technology. There's this belief that technology is always a good thing. Technological progress brings benefits to society. And you could say, well, is that naivete? Is that just, technological utopianism? But that seems to be when these attitudinal surveys are done. And by the way, here I'm talking about general surveys of the population, not about library professions or particular professions, but generally speaking, the populations in China think that technology will benefit them more so than places like the United States or Europe. So our methodology, pretty straightforward, really. We took a regional approach. We got over 100 respondents across the Greater Bay Area, which is, of course, Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. And we're able to leverage my favorite acronym, GMULA, the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau University Libraries Alliance. And big thanks to my co-author, Ben, who as the sort of principal member, CUHK is the principal member of the Alliance in Hong Kong, was able to distribute our survey requests widely to all of the member institutions. So that's how we were able to get a pretty good response rate to our survey. And just a note there that, of course, because of that focus, we looked at university and research libraries in the region. And the demographics here, there's and we addressed this in the article, slight bias towards Hong Kong. That might be because of me and Ben were able to, pressure a few more people in the Hong Kong region. Would have liked to get a few more from Macau, but there was representation from across all of the regions. And in terms of the top respondent roles, reference and instruction librarians, I guess, not surprisingly, were most interested in responding, followed by folks in systems, administration, and also user services and circulation. And we did find positive attitudes, maybe not as high as some of the general surveys that we'd seen. Some of the literature reviewed sort of had like 80% of people were excited about technology. And there was an overall positive attitude among the librarians we surveyed. So the majority did view these AI tools favorably. And there was strong agreement with this idea that libraries supporting AI would be an important role for us playing for or going forward. But one, I think, very important thing that came out was that quite a significant portion of respondents were just not sure. And this question asked them about their own library, not libraries in general. They did not know about what their library was doing in terms of supporting AI, which I think was a little bit of a red flag for us. That's not very good if you don't know what your own library is doing in terms of supporting AI. This is a breakdown of the relationship with the familiarity with AI. So we asked respondents, how familiar are you with AI? And we kind of correlated that with their attitude and their frequency of use. So this correlation did emerge, which again was expected, that those who were familiar and regular users of AI tended to have a very positive attitude towards it. So there's this trend or this correlation. If you're more familiar, if you use it more, you tended to have a more positive attitude. One thing you might be thinking, very positive, somewhat positive, neutral, something. Nobody gave a very negative response, like 0 out of those 100 plus. So that again speaks to the more positive attitude that librarians have. So you can see that sort of neat line here. So folks who are a bit negative, they never used it, so they weren't familiar with it. So you see that trend coming through. And yeah, this is the familiarity gap as well. So most respondents reported being only slightly familiar with AI tools. So again, highlighting a gap and perhaps potentially indicating a need for more training. And so to take you through the rest of those findings, I'll hand it over to Ben.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. So in the paper on the use of AI in Greater Bay Area libraries and on attitudes of librarians towards AI, having identified the demographics and the correlation that Chris described between familiarity and level of utilization or frequency of utilization, we looked at in more depth what is the nature of the support that research libraries in the Greater Bay Area currently provide to their users. And so we found that firstly, we found that 15% of respondents said their library did not provide any support on AI to their community. So that is not very high. I mean, 15% is relatively low. And looking at it from a different prism, as Chris said, attitudes in China tend to be more positive about AI. Engagement with AI has tended to be more high or higher in Hong Kong and mainland China than it is in Europe. So where the context I'm more familiar with. And so 15%, I think, relatively is not very high. If we ran the survey again today, I suspect that number would be further down. But those libraries which do provide support with AI, we found that 21% of those libraries, the form of the support is something like this: trainings and workshops, and providing some opportunities for library users to understand what AI tools are available and then how to use different types of AI tools. So that is the most common. And as Chris noted, in terms of the demographic, many of the respondents were instruction and reference librarians. So that ties in with the general information literacy training that libraries have been providing for many, many years in the region and globally. And so actually, when we think about AI literacy and the ability to use AI tools and familiarity with AI tools as an information seeking tool, there is a continuity which we observe in the paper, continuity between the tradition of libraries providing those types of skills and training and new tools that are becoming available, which happen to be AI, but are still around the same topic of enabling our users to access information and enabling our users to understand the trustworthiness of information. One of the aspects which I'll talk about a bit later of the training that libraries can deliver, which is different from what you might get if you went to your engineering department and asked for training on AI, is that libraries can tend to bring different perspectives to bear, particularly on ethical use of AI and on the kinds of questions that you might want to use, so that you're not only proficient in using the tool, but also in understanding the limitations of the tool and understanding what other factors you might want to take into account. We found that just under 20% of libraries provide training materials on AI, and this is something which about the same time that we were writing the paper, we were working on in CUHK Library on drafting the paper. See my colleague Iris, who was the mastermind of the paper, is in the audience today. So this is something that many libraries in the region are producing as well. And I'm sure that number also will have gone up a lot because there's a huge amount of demand from our universities, from our users in research institutes and the wider community in how do I go about using AI? Not everyone can attend a training workshop or a training event. So providing resources often open access resources through our LibGuides or other services is something that our libraries are doing and have been doing. Another area of demand from users, and something that libraries are increasingly doing, is providing access to those tools that you can't just log on and access and use. So access to paid AI tools is something that about 16% of libraries in the Greater Bay Area are doing. Interestingly, we reflect in the paper, in Hong Kong, ChatGPT was banned and not accessible for a long time. And in mainland China, it's not accessible. However, for many research institutions, there is permitted access, and therefore libraries and librarians need to be able to support those users who have access. And so that's been something which in Hong Kong, there was some discussion in 2022 into 23 about why is it taking so long to grant access to these resources, all the way up to LegCo, the legislative body of Hong Kong, for lawmakers challenging why it was taking so long for government to enable safe and legal access to these tools. So for a number of research libraries, providing access to paid AI tools, those which require subscriptions or licensing, is increasingly needed, increasingly required by our institutions. The challenge is, I think in introductory remarks, Dr. Koo noted that one of the motivations of using AI is to be more efficient and to try and reduce costs across organizations. I mean, that if you read the media and if you read the PR and advertising for AI tools, that is one of the primary drivers. Providing access to paid AI tools costs money by definition. And so academic libraries, research libraries are being encouraged or are having to provide access to AI tools for their users. So actually, in terms of the cost base for research libraries, AI is putting some pressure on libraries because we need to subscribe not only to information resources, but also increasingly to AI tools. And that is something which we need to be able to articulate as something that we add value to our institutions through providing access to these tools, and something which I think our electronic access colleagues and our IT team colleagues will need to be able to support us, colleagues like Chris, myself, to articulate to the senior leadership of universities that investments in the libraries is also enabling investment in AI development for institutions and access to AI tools for a wider set of users of our communities. And then, as Chris mentioned, 40% of colleagues, when we asked them, what support does your library provide to your users, were unable to answer the question. They said, we don't know. And again, when we talk about making clear the benefits of research libraries, we need as research librarians to be able to say, this is what we do for you. So this was, as Chris said, an alarm bell. And when we thought about what can we do from this learning, there are some actionable steps that we can do from that. When we looked at specifically what type of training is it that those training workshops and training events are focusing on, and what is it that you as research librarians responding to this survey believe we need to focus on, these were the areas that were highlighted. Specifically, this is training aimed at librarians so that our library staff are equipped with the skills to support users, to support students, researchers, and administrative staff across the university. The first one was around basic introductory training. What are these AI tools that we're talking about? How does AI work, and what can we do with it? And in the paper, we observe that it's not very surprising, given the relatively high proportion of respondents who were either irregular users or occasional users of AI tools, that there's a sense that we need to learn more about AI to be able to go up in the familiarity with AI tools so that we can then help to equip our users with more competence and confidence using AI tools. There was also appetite for more training on specific AI tools, so that rather than just providing generic training about these are the things that AI can do, and these are the AI tools that are available, if you wanted to be able to use Claude AI or ChatGPT or Copilot or other AI tools, then how do you actually do that? Is something that many respondents to the survey said is needed. I think we are gradually building that up in our institutions, not necessarily only in the library, but it is something that we're growing on. And I'm really pleased that after Chris and my talk, Ryun will be able to share some practical examples of real AI tools applied to real use cases to give you an idea of what does this look like in an academic library context. How might we use different types of tools to achieve different types of outcomes and make a practical difference in terms of the services that we provide. Another area is around prompt engineering skills, and this is training which I've attended at CUHK over the last year and a half. Again, it's something that libraries are teaming up with different services within our universities. Our IT services are tending to be quite active in this area. Suppliers are quite active. We had Microsoft come and give some talks at CUHK last year for academic staff and other professional staff. And that is around enabling optimal use of large language models and understanding how do you instruct the tool to give you something that is more useful than you might if you're a neophyte and or trying to engage with it as if you were a human person behind a desk, because AI tools are different creatures to us. And so when we engage with them, it might look and sound like you're chatting with someone behind a screen, but actually that's not how it works. And so understanding how you prompt an AI to provide you with the type of response that you want is really important. And it's something which our library respondents acknowledged and said that we should provide more training in this space for librarians in the Greater Bay Area's research libraries. And then the final area, which is a very thorny area, is around copyright and legal issues. Now, copyright and legal issues related to AI are an ongoing hot topic for governments, for companies, for international bodies. In Hong Kong last year, there was some consultation around copyright legislation related to AI, and the government consulted on this, and JULAC, the University Libraries Committee for Publicly Funded University Libraries, provided some input into that. Hong Kong LA may have also. And I think the government has published updated copyright rules around AI use. One thing which is really encouraging, I was reading an article last week in an academic popular review, which was praising how many research libraries, electronic resource management teams have been arguing with publishers for many years to make sure that there's a fair use text and data mining clause built into our licenses with publishers to allow academics to use text and data mining tools on the corpus of literature that we buy access to. And for a long time, that was quite a niche requirement. Of course, with large language models and access to these tools becoming more common across the universities, it means that for many universities, it's possible to use AI tools legally on huge volumes of academic literature. And that is thanks to the work of our electronic resource librarians. Now, this is not a group that often gets a spotlight shone on and praised, but it was great to see that our academic colleagues are recognizing that this is a really valuable provision and something which is enabling our university academics and our students to use AI tools on trustworthy materials and to do that in a way that is perfectly legal and permitted because of the hard work and the forward thinking of our colleagues in technical services and the back office teams of the library. So for reference and inquiry librarians, helping users to understand what are the legal and ethical considerations around AI is important. For us to understand across the library the large, almost societal implications of AI is helpful, but really complicated. And I think this is going to continue to be an important topic because libraries tend to be institutions that think about the long term. And when we think about use of AI, there are a number of longer-term ethical considerations that might not be expedient to consider when you're trying to rush through and produce your next research paper, and you need to analyze data quickly. So you just put all of the data into the machine and then get the paper out, and then you get that published. And so helping our academics to understand implications of shortcuts or thinking about how to use AI responsibly is really important and something that we can do going forward. Thinking about how do we collectively benefit from the work that we are doing in our different institutions. The Greater Bay Area is a really active area in terms of librarianship and in terms of digital libraries, including in terms of use of AI tools in libraries. And there was a huge amount of appetite. We know that librarians tend to be very willing to share and quite liberal and not particularly money oriented. So when we think about would we be willing to share this valuable thing that we know with other librarians, the answer almost inevitably is yes. And when we asked the survey, 94% of respondents said they would like to share experience across the region, across the Greater Bay Area, Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau. So I suppose this is one example. So we're very grateful, as Chris said, to the Hong Kong LA for giving us the opportunity of sharing some of the learnings that we've made through this paper and through the work that we've been doing in our institutions. Another area is around cross-institutional planning. So how can we think beyond our own universities at what could we do, what could we apply AI to at more than one university library at the same time? And in Hong Kong, we've started doing some work, again, through JULAC. We have a digital initiatives committee that was established almost 18 months ago. And some of the projects that we're thinking about long-term relate to AI uses and trying to think about that. We don't really have currently any cross-institutional thinking around AI across the Greater Bay Area. There are a number of challenges and opportunities in that space, but it's something that Chris and I observed in our paper that we could develop further. And then looking at how might we structure that. So if we're saying that we would benefit from this and we want to do it, we're all willing to engage, 94% of participants are, then how do we actually make it happen? And it's something which Chris and I touched on in the paper, but not something that any member of the Greater Bay Area has yet kind of said, we'll put our hand up and proceed with this. But interested in having a conversation about this later in the Q&A session. So now thinking about what are the key implications for libraries of these findings that Chris and I have been outlining from the paper. The first is, if we want to be a trusted partner in development of AI in our institutions, we need to be really good at explaining what is the value of the library in applying AI tools, in understanding how AI works and then applying AI tools. And currently, we're not very good at that. Pretty much as soon as Chris and I had written the conclusions of the paper, I had a chat with Ryun and my colleague Ernest Yik, who leads our library IT services library IT systems team, to say, if this, this is a problem clearly across the piece. And I suspect that we in our institution are not immune to this, that colleagues in the library probably don't know what we're doing with AI or why we're doing AI. And so what we did quite soon after is that Ernest led a task group, and we put together a short document, maybe 2 sides of A4, to explain this is what we at CUHK mean by AI uses. This is how we're going to be using AI in our library, and this is what we're going to be doing with it, so that everyone can see this is what we're trying to achieve. And the other thing that Ernest did is set up a Teams group in the library, so that all colleagues who were interested, so professional colleagues and any other colleagues who were interested, could register an interest and then can share information and developments that they want. And that's something which is very simple and straightforward to do. We could all do this almost in a couple of days. And it's been a helpful channel, particularly when there have been interesting developments, to be able to share those quickly and also to share information or training courses that might be relevant. Also, if you say, this is where we're going with AI, these are the things we want to achieve with AI, it helps to avoid something which came through in a survey very strongly when we asked colleagues, what kinds of concerns do you have about AI? Many librarian respondents said, I am worried that if we roll out AI across our library really effectively, I won't have a job. Now, if you look at, in societal conversations and look at what some of the AI leaders are saying, AI company leaders are saying, the odds are that many of the jobs that we're doing today can be done better by AI and will be able to be done better by AI very soon. So maybe those respondents are right to worry, but that's not what we're trying to achieve in our libraries. By and large, library leaders are not trying to get rid of library workforces, and there are many applications that will enable us to become better at providing services to our users to access trustworthy information reliably that will still require humans, but which can be accelerated or enhanced through use of AI. And so if we can explain clearly this is what we're trying to achieve, we can then hopefully get some of the smart colleagues who are concerned about AI tools to see a place for themselves in that future. And I think that is really important. So that's what we mean about transparent planning, enabling colleagues to feel part of that journey. We've talked a lot about training programs. I've already elaborated on the type of training we feel is necessary. And it's an area where we can really build up a portfolio of training for users. And I think all of our institutions are working on this. I was saying to Bethany, the deputy librarian here, on my way in, I saw a notice board coming into Hong Kong Baptist University, and almost half of the posters were about AI training on this or that, or AI competitions. So I think Hong Kong institutions are really embracing this. Mainland China also. When I go back to Europe this summer, I'll be interested in seeing whether there is that same sense of real enthusiasm and almost rush to learn about how do we use AI effectively, as there is here in Hong Kong. So I think for many of our institutions across colleagues in Hong Kong, LA, if we feed back to the library leadership that this is something which is necessary to provide structured training around AI, I think it will fall on very willing ears, because there's an understanding this is really important to get this right and make sure that we're effective at supporting AI. And then thinking about how do we collaborate around AI, because the investment required in large-scale AI projects is significant, and it is not something that many institutions can shoulder individually. So how might we utilize the strengths of our different research libraries and draw on the talent that we have across the larger and the smaller institutions, and not exclude potential great projects or potential great talent from AI projects in the Greater Bay Area? And how can we foster collaboration between Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong institutions is something that Chris and I were reflecting on in the paper as well. So finally, thinking about what does the future look like? What do we need to focus on when we think about AI in research libraries? First is looking at how is AI making a difference, and how are we as libraries making a difference through AI? Because if we do all these AI projects and spend lots of money providing access to AI tools, paid AI tools to our users, it doesn't mean anything to our funders unless we can demonstrate impact. And our institutions, our researchers are increasingly being told, when they say that what they do is really important, increasingly being told, well, show us how it's really important. So whether that's through research assessment exercises, or whether that's through grant funding applications, there's a really strong emphasis on impact. So how can we, in our research libraries, demonstrate impact of AI-based interventions or AI investments. That is not easy. And many of our traditional surveys don't have a way of distinguishing between AI-enabled services and initiatives and other more traditional initiatives. I don't think that's necessarily what we need. We don't need to say, you know, these are the AI-powered services and this is the improvement that we're getting through AI alone. However, we need to think about how do we demonstrate the impact of AI on the quality of our libraries. The second is, how do we clearly set the goals of what we want to achieve through AI? How do we say, as university libraries, these are the 3 or 4 things that our use of AI is going to enable for us as a service, for our users, and potentially for our institution? It's not been an area of focus in previous strategic cycles because many of our strategic plans predate the launch of ChatGPT. Some forward-thinking services, and I want to pay tribute to my predecessor, Ms. Louise Jones from CHK Library, because our digital initiatives team that Ryun will present on has been operating for more than 2.5 years. It predates ChatGPT. And I think when we think about maturity of AI developments, it can take a long time to actually become fully able to leverage the power of AI tools. So we need to take a longer term view, maybe a 5 or 10-year view about what we do with AI tools, and that requires setting objectives for that kind of time frame. So that's something which, again, in our institutions, we can do. We can talk to the leadership of the libraries and the university leadership to say, the library can play this role for the university, and this is what we're going to achieve through this. And then finally, to help with colleagues, including Chris and myself, I think Chris and I would probably answer the question of, do you know what your library is doing around AI? We'd probably answer on the positive kind of end of the spectrum. However, to help all colleagues across institutions to be able to tell the story of what are you doing with AI, we recommend doing some mapping of AI initiatives in our institutions so that we can say, this is what our library, this is what libraries in Hong Kong, Macau, Guangdong are doing around AI, which is really exciting. And hopefully by the end of this morning, you'll have a sense of some of the exciting projects from some of our libraries, or 2 of our libraries to start with. And then we would encourage you to develop your own map so that you can tell the story of this is what we're doing today. And if you go back to the previous point about setting objectives, you can then say, this is where we're going, but build on, we know what we're doing today, we know where we're going, and that will enable us to demonstrate how AI will power the future of our research libraries. Thank you very much. The full article is available online, and you're very welcome to read it and to ask us any questions after the talk. Thank you. So I'll hand over to Ryun now, who will give some practical examples from CUHK Library.
Morning. It's a pleasure to share some of my works. Before the presentation, I just want to share a bit short video because I don't want to shift my PowerPoint back to here. So this is our latest collection using the AI animation. So you may this is the torture. And then there's a picture using the animation to make it more attractive. I want to show you here. that's enough. You can take a look later. Okay. The wood to paint. Oh, very nice to have some background music. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of our implementation and some of the AI exhibition experiment. For the AI, just for your reference, is more here we more broad term. We are not only talking about the large language model. We may apply the computer vision and other model as well. So as Ben mentioned, we have interesting groups. So before I come here, we did a study to see what kind of experiment and some development in the AI for the AI in the CHK library. So this is a 4 area we are doing. The first one, the AI animation, the simulation. You just see the video. So we are using some of our 2D image to make it animation to attract the people. So make more the collection go alive. And the second one, I think most office library are using for the language and content generation, using the translation, photo generation, and also using for the drafting and the summarize. So this is quite common. The third one, I think we use the AI. They're exploring the AI agent for the cataloging. I think this one, I think Elma already have some kind of the tools. And later on, we can also show some of our local tools that can also help for the AI cataloging. And the fourth one is the AI enhanced operation. For example, using AI-driven FAQ chatbot to support the user. For example, ask a question, they can use the FAQ. I think MU have one. Yeah, and also we are using the AI for the email filtering, so they can automatic filtering to the different party to streamline the CMR process. I think later on they try to see they can use AI to answer some of the questions based on the knowledge base. And you can see below here, we also have some images for the animation. Okay, so for DI, we have we're using the different tools or different model for operation. So it's quite different from the previous slide, the operation. So in DI, we have 2 parts. One is the digital service. The other one is we're supporting the digital scholarship. So for the digital service, we have some using AI for the robust process automation, which is we use AI for our smart quality control for the pre-material. So in the past, we have a vendor to do a scanning for us, but usually after when you come back, we do the QA. So we have the student helper to help us to check to see any flip, flip corner and the blur or some missing, some error, etc. So can give you some details here. Yeah. So but we can't rely on the student helper because they always come irregularly, and every time we need to bet them come here to help. So we try to use the AI to help us. So we use the machine learning to plus the computer vision to, based on our previous example, we check our image. But later on, we found out that the data training data is not enough. For what we do, we use the AI to create our training data. I think we also asked Hong Kong U to give some training data at the time. Yeah. So actually, when you do the machine learning, you need a lot of data to train. That's why, but because the AI is really good, they can make the image. So we asked the AI to do some random checking to flip the chord, make it more blur from this right corner, left corner, and then we it throws some of the image. So in this case, we can enrich our training data so we can make our checking more accurate. So so this is not directly use AI, but actually the AI can help our operation. And the second one, we use the AI for audio file checking. In the first experiment, actually we want to check some particular type of the, for example, a speech, sentence, or maybe sing a song. I want to check this kind of activity in the audio. So we don't need to listen the whole audio again to see which part is that. But after that, we found out this one also can detect the noise from the audio. So rather than we can, for example, when we convert our audio from the tape to the audio file, then we can checking some noise. Is there any noise, not the human voice or music? Then we can focus on that to do some further QC. So this one I use YamNet is some deep learning model. Oh, this one, I think, oh, here is over 18, right? So this one, we have counted some of the problem when we scan the picture, because it's an entertainment magazine, so they might have some kind of nudity pictures. So we thought we might have the student just flip and chat, but later on I found if we ask them to do it, probably they should pay us what we pay them to do this. So we thinking that our staff are volunteer to help to find some model to do the filtering for this one. So I think later on we publish an article for this one as well. Yeah. So they will detect the female, male, and you want to. So after they detect, they will blur the important part in the content, etc. So yeah, we're happy to share this tool. If you are going to do a digitization, you want to do the checking, yeah, we're happy to share this with you. Yeah. Okay, so and we're also using AI for some historical content restoration. Usually we want to keep it as original as possible, but because the print have some kind of sometimes the fade because the printing or maybe it's the condition, the paper condition. So we try to use the AI to denoise or deblur the newspaper, because after that, when we do the digitization, we also want to do the OCR. So we can make it better, clear image. It's better for the OCR accuracy. So we're using some kind of the AI tools to do some denoise and deblur. Okay, so this is the other one, really exciting one. So we, some photo, maybe the technique, or maybe it's because the condition is make it not really clear. So we try to use the GAN model to recolor the paper. And sometimes when we, for example, at the donor give us some old picture, when do the decolor, I send it back to their family. They're very happy to see this kind of the image. Yeah, so but we know that we want to keep it original, but we also want to make it more enhance the user experience, and then to have people to our modern audience to exactly know what happened at the time. Yeah. Okay, so I mentioned about we have two parts. One is the digital scholarship. One is we supporting the digital scholarship. So this part I will talk about how the AI innovation in the digital scholarship. I highlight 4 projects. The first one is the headline analysis using the configuration, and the second one will be the photo album creation using this tool. But I'm not going to talk about this tool, but already in our DS project, you may want to take a look later and also promote our DS project later. Yeah, but I want to highlight this the third, fourth. Our HKBDB project is also one of our flagship project. The HKBD is Hong Kong writer and artist about biographical data. We are collect right now is more focused on the writer and the artist in Hong Kong region. So we will extract the biographic information and then put it in the graph database. So in this case, when you build a graph database, you can do a data analysis with data visualization. I think also we will take this chance if any library, they are also interested to participate in this project. If you have some data set about the Hong Kong biographic information, you are welcome. You can also contribute the data here. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. So the first part is the NER. I don't know if everyone we experiment the chat. Actually, ChatGPT is quite good to extract the element from the information. They can do summarize, but they also very good to extract the entity, like the 人事物, the people, the event, day and time and place. So this is the one very basic element for do the analysis or the knowledge management. So in the past, we will, for example, you can see this example, we will have the biographic information. We need to have the student to extract it, put it in the Excel, like the date of birth and the place they living and etc., the school they working, and then input to the system. But what now we can do, we have the ChatGPT, we need to copy and paste this text, and then they will extract the information like filling the application form for us. And then after that, when you have this graph database, you can do the visualization, etc. Zhang Weiling, I think. We just find because I think I can't log in our trial platform because it's actually counting the money. So, but I just copy and paste this journaling from the Wikipedia. Actually, they can extract the information here, and then they can build very nice. So actually, this really streamline our process, and we extract the element from the biographical data information. Yeah, and actually, this one is already in our production line. So we're working on this every day. The other tools we are using for the HKBDB is the Sparkle chatbot Sparkle. Actually, you can see in the right side, you can, if you know the Sparkle, you also know our ontology. You can extract our data based on your research questions. For example, if I want to know Zhang Weiling, who what's his friend living in Hong Kong, etc. So you can convert this to Sparkle and then extract the data from the graph database. But we also found we need some skill, some knowledge about the Sparkle. So that's why we build this chatbot Sparkle. We ask the chatbot to learn all our ontology research, and then they can translate your research to a Sparkle, and then you can extract the data. But the question you might ask, why we just directly ask the chatbot to extract the data? Because the chatbot sometimes is not transparent. You don't know what they are thinking. So that's why maybe in the future, we might just strictly go to extract the data, not using the Sparkle. But when the chatbot give you the Sparkle, you understand what they understand. Yeah, your question. Then and also you can manipulate the Sparkle. So this is why we still have the Sparkle here. Yeah. Okay, so this is some of the experiment we are doing now. So there's two area. So one, as I say, we also thinking using the ChatGPT to do some cataloging. For example, this one we experiment to use the physics. For example, we put the PDF physics here, then they will give us the subject headline on something. But later on, then cataloging thing, this is too, they don't need to have read the full text. They only read the abstract. So this one we stopped to doing, but we also thinking that when we fit the PDF, actually we can we can give our graduate school office know our research trend. So for example, I feed all our 10 years PDF. So they can easy to give us what's the research trend for this 10 years. So the ChatGPT can help this one. Yeah. So this is sometimes when we do experiment, your intention or the end result is sometimes different. This is, I think, is already very popular, is the RAG. Actually, it's also fitting the data, library data, to the ChatGPT. This one is a local host. You don't need to share the data in the LLM. So you can extract the element like HKBDB, and then you can create some kind of visualization to see all the data relationship. One of the potential we can use for this one is our archive finding aid. Because the finding aid is a historical arrangement. So if you put the finding aid, you might see the relationships for the different form or different collection. So we hope we can build this kind of infrastructure. So people just need to fit their data set, and then they can automatically create some kind of the visualization for them to do the further insight or analysis. And of course, for OCR, image AI, so we use the Google AI Vision to do the HOCR. And also we are using for the handwritten Chinese text. The reason we use the Google AI for the handwritten Chinese is because they can, you see, they can recognize lot different direction of the text. So this is one thing we find is really good for the Google AI. Of course, the accuracy is still need to improve for this. And the other one is that we also use the image analysis, LLABA, for the image description. But this one is provide some of the very general ones. So we expecting we have some AI agents, they can have more special knowledge to describe the image rather than some general description. And this, this one is we have used the facial recognition, and then they can find some current information from the web. For example, they can recognize the person, and then they can find the information about this person from the online. Okay, so after all this experiment, I think I just want to share some of our challenges and some consideration. Data privacy and ethics is also always very important, and also you need to worry about what their bias, etc. And also when you do a business intelligence, probably the data privacy is also very important because you need to feed your data to the LLM. And you have to choose, do you want to do a local development, or we have found the industrial partnership? Yeah. For my motto, we always say, I always say, if you cannot build, then we borrow. If we cannot borrow, we buy. Yeah. So this is what we have done for the limited resource expertise. And when you choose the vendor, if you use the industrial partner, the vendor always say they can do it. Yeah. But sometimes they also say that, how about you give me a money, I do a proof of concept. So sometimes you need to pay the money to do something may not work. Yeah. But this is sometimes the AI way to work, because even though they claim they do some AI, they're not exactly doing what you are doing. So they not even have the tool exactly to tell you. So when you work with the vendor, to select the vendor, you have find someone you trust. And even though they say they claim they do it in the past, I think some iteration you need to involve. Yeah, always have some training. There's a lot of the self training. AI literacy you need to keep update, and also sometimes they 6 months, 3 months they will keep up some new product, very exciting news for you. Yeah, you have to keep update about this. And for you have to integrate your seamlessly integrate your existing system, not create the other system you work on this. Yeah, to make sure your workflow is streamlined. Yeah, and also the adapting approach. There's 2 approach, wait and see. You want to see some of the mature product comes in, or just use it, or you want to catch the wave. You want to do it in the first just experiment. Sometimes it's fail, sometimes it's success. So this is there's always pros and cons for this approach, but especially for the AI. So I think like Ben mentioned, you have the long-term objectives. Yeah. So take your time to do it. Sometimes may not work at the time, but you change too fast sometimes, and sometimes you spend a lot of money to develop, but later on suddenly they come up can solve all your problems. Yeah, so this is something we also need to conscious. Looking ahead, yeah, the future we can exploring this AI technology to enhance the user experience and the operation efficiency. Yeah, they're already changing some of our traditional library service as well. Yeah, and also I want to echo to Chris and Ben the research. This is important for the co-institution collaboration. Yeah, not only sharing the knowledge, but when we work together, we can scale up the initiative. Yeah, so this is very important. We cannot do it alone, so we must share the not only expertise, the experience, but also the job. Yeah, job. Yeah, and also we need to build a sustainable AI web map. Sometimes we still the cost is still unknown. Yeah, so because these tokens is based on data set. So this one we also need to do it. How we can do it more cost efficiency and so adapt this future technology environment. So this is my presentation. Thank you.
Oh, for some reason we decided to use 3 different presentation tools for what I think we're in the right place. Very exciting to hear some of the initiatives from CUHK. So for this third and final part of the presentation, I wanted to focus more on some of the training elements that we have introduced for library staff in particular. And before I begin, I just wanted to say thank you very much to my colleagues, Wallace, who's there, and is Becky here? No, but she's sick. I hope she, because Nancy said she had registered, but I hope she doesn't come because she needs to rest and get well. But thanks to Wallace and Becky for putting this presentation together for me. So here, this is just really a summary of some of the stuff that we went through at the beginning, the positive, but, cautious. I think there's a healthy caution among colleagues towards the adoption of AI, the uncertainty we talked about the actual strategies and support that institutions provide, and a clear, both a demand and a demonstrated need for training as well. So the purpose of this part of the presentation is to share how we took those results from the survey and just our own observations too, and we really have made a sustained, proactive effort to infuse AI training and competency development across all staff, and I really do mean all staff, and I'll talk about what we mean by that in a second. So here's a timeline. So the HKBU context, I have to say we're very lucky at HKBU because our senior management have been very proactive as well. So just, I think, a few months after ChatGPT sort of exploded onto the scene, very soon afterwards, the university set up a working group. I was very happy to be invited to be one of the members, and under the leadership of Dr. Benjamin Morehouse, they came up with these principles for the use of generative AI tools in teaching, learning, and assessment. And this is a Senate level document. And it was very, very good in sort of saying to faculty, saying to the university community that these tools should be engaged with. I don't know if you remember at the time, there was some controversy, some universities even saying, you know, you're banned from using ChatGPT. I mean, that was obviously not sustainable. But right from the beginning at HKBU, our students, our faculty were encouraged to make use of these tools. And that gave a really good environment for the library to step into as well. So this big box here are some specific library actions that we took. So we have a set of strategic priorities, and we actually revised them. It was only sort of halfway through the strategic plan, but we thought this was big enough that we would revise our strategic priorities to explicitly, as you can see there, commit to the proactive support of the effective adoption of AI tools in teaching and learning. And similar to CUHK, we established an internal AI task force, and Wallace and Becky are kind of leading members of that task force. So speaking of that task force, here it was our framework. We had both short-term focus and a long-term strategy, but the key focus, at least in those early days, was training and resources support. So equipping our colleagues with AI knowledge, an understanding of the ethical implications around the use of AI, and also the skills that were needed. So in the short term, adoption, we really wanted colleagues to start using AI as soon as possible. There's the paid tools again, because you know, you can't really expect people to personally pay, you know, $10 US a month or whatever it is to access these tools. And of course, we don't have an unlimited budget either. So there was a lot of discussion around which tools we should subscribe to, how to provide access to those tools in a cost-effective way. The ethical implications were always important, and also the impact of the use of these tools. Long-term, in terms of a strategy, I mean, ethics is there again, because that's always going to be an important part of how we think about AI. Collaboration, both, we've spoken a lot about how we can collaborate with other libraries, but within our university community as well, there are lots of options for collaboration with faculty, with our IT unit on campus, and other possibilities too. And throughout, looking at how we can enhance our processes around AI. So here's where the first tangible output of the AI task force, because as was mentioned in the survey, one of the findings was, you know, colleagues didn't really know what we were doing around AI. And so what we did with these staff guidelines, the purpose here was to really provide clarity and also really encourage responsible exploration of AI tools, to give license to colleagues to say, you know, obviously we as the senior management, we don't have all the answers. We don't know. You're the ones who are working day to day. How could AI help you in your work? So this is a formal document that we first issued in October 2023, but with AI changing all the time, we basically review that document every year, and we did revise it just earlier this year. So just an extract of some of the key principles. First one, we encourage the use of AI. We don't force you. I think in the actual document, we say this will not affect your APR, your annual review score, if you don't use AI in your work. So there's no penalty for non-use. And so the focus is on just encouraging and supporting. And we also explicitly say, these are some suitable use cases. And we're going beyond some of the fantastic examples that Ryun shared were very library specific. But we think just in your daily work, drafting an email, to sort of say explicitly, yes, it is okay for staff to draft an email, but the guidelines also say, please read it before you send it, right? You know, make sure the email is coherent and et cetera. For instruction librarians, yeah, generating an initial lesson plan, drafting internal forms, and I'm sure many library marketing teams, well, you can see them throughout our presentations, a lot of AI generated images. Although I have to say, sometimes I'm not sure if that does make me more productive, because I find myself some 20 minutes, like, let me adjust the prompt for this AI image generator. I want it to be a more perfect AI image. So sometimes I have to just say, it's okay. It's fine. It's going to be up on the screen for 20 seconds. So, but I really do think that's important. I mentioned my friend and colleague, Dr. Morehouse, who used to be at HKBU, now he's at CityU. He's just across the road. I still have lunch with him occasionally. But for JULAC colleagues, you will remember him speaking at the JULAC Forum, and one of his big ideas that I thoroughly agree with is the need to normalize the ethical use of AI, right? Because at the moment, sometimes people feel a little bit embarrassed. It's like, oh, I drafted this with AI, sort of apologetically. So we're saying to colleagues, no, you don't need to apologize for using AI. We're encouraging you to use it as long as you're doing it in a way that's responsible and in a way that doesn't detract from the quality of your work. And so the last point there, training commitment, we are committed on the task force to providing appropriate training and professional development opportunities for our colleagues. So the overall impact, this was our effort, similar to the one that Ben described at CUHK, to just reduce the ambiguity for staff, for colleagues to understand where we are with AI, and to foster this supportive environment for staff to experiment with. And again, with big thanks to Wallace and Becky for this, we did a survey of staff. So this is a survey of library staff. They did a sort of before and after a major training program. And they found encouragingly, even before we issued our statement and our encouragement, et cetera, over 3/4 of our staff were already using AI tools. But worryingly, also 75% had a basic or no understanding of AI, which suggested maybe some maybe not as guided as we would hope. And only 25% had previous AI training, which was mostly the sort of self-learning that has been talked about already. And of course, that self-learning is very valuable, but we wanted to provide more structured training opportunities as well. So you can see there the key barriers to AI adoption in the workplace. And the number one, as you would expect, a lack of training. And you can see there too, unsure about how to start, the lack of resources, not sure if it will be effective. Glad to see only a small number for resistance to change from colleagues. And also, there seemed to be a perception of management support as well. In terms of concerns about AI integration in the workplace, I think quite rightly, this showed colleagues at HKBU Library very concerned about their work quality, right? They're concerned about the accuracy and reliability of the output, also the ethics around privacy issues related to data that is shared with AI, more ethical implications, dependence on technology. Interestingly, not too many concerns about job displacement. So I hope my colleagues at least feel secure for now in the use of AI in terms of their continued employability. So yeah, we went from a structured training approach from the foundations to a more practical applications. So this is, I don't think it was controversial is the wrong word, but I'm sorry, I'm skipping to the last bullet point, which is or I should say I don't want to blame anyone. I made this compulsory for all library staff, but it wasn't meant to be onerous, right? And in fact, as part of our annual performance review, we actually have a 5-hour training requirement for all staff anyway, and this counted towards it. So it's not as onerous as it might seem. And it was quite straightforward. We have a subscription to LinkedIn Learning at HKBU Library, and they have a great deal of very good training resources on AI, on LinkedIn Learning, which they refresh quite frequently. So it's kept very much up to date. So what the AI task force did, we went into LinkedIn Learning and we picked a few videos from different courses that we felt addressed the points that we wanted all colleagues to be familiar with. So we created a LinkedIn Learning path of about just over an hour's worth of content, and an assessment, very simple, just done on Microsoft Forms. And the focus, as you can see there, on fundamentals, the ethics, identifying solutions. So not a huge commitment, 1.25 hours, but again, compulsory for all staff to complete. And we did check, we did follow up, and no threats were necessary. Some reminders were issued, but yes, all colleagues did complete that training. then that took us to the practical workshop. So we wanted to first step, make sure everyone has the fundamentals, right? And then introduce some more practical workshops. So we invited an outside trainer, and Wallace, I've forgotten his name again. Keith, thank you. I've asked Wallace that question maybe 5 or 6 times. Keith came and gave two workshops, an introductory workshop and a more advanced workshop, introducing, as you can see there, text generation, image generation, video generation, presentation slide generation. This was not compulsory, but I was very pleased to see almost 80% of HKB Library colleagues did attend that training. It was in Cantonese, so Bethany and I could not attend, but yeah. So that number, you know, I don't know how that percentage was worked out, but it could be even higher, really. And so this is really interesting, pre and post training survey results. So the task force designed a very useful survey. So first of all, we had our staff perceptions of AI in the workplace, and it was pretty much aligned with the results that we saw in the GBA survey. Majority, or in our case, a bare majority, had a positive perception. Most other colleagues were neutral, and I guess that was one person, just like negative. And in terms of understanding, as I alluded to before, most colleagues indicating that they had a basic understanding of AI concepts. So after training, how did things change? We asked the same questions again, and you can see that person still wasn't convinced, still negative. So this may be our diehard, you know, anti-AI person in the library. But there was a shift among other colleagues. In terms of the understanding, I found this really interesting. There was one person who before said they were very knowledgeable. Maybe the training made them realize, actually, I don't know that much. And so they're no longer very knowledgeable. They're somewhere in here. But overall, again, we see the correct trend, which is people having either a moderate or even a good understanding. So based on this admittedly self-reporting, we feel that the training achieved the desired results. And these are just some practical sharing with the permission of the colleagues. So Carly, for example, from our user experience and assessment team, talked about how she used ChatGPT for brainstorming, Perplexity for initial information searches, and also HKBU's own tools, which the university subscribes to ChatGPT, and the library has a po.com subscription just for library staff to assist with things like data cleaning, creation of dashboards, because her work is very much focused on assessment. Jeff, who's at the Chinese Medicine Library, he's also a member of our marketing team. So he's used a lot of Midjourney and Adobe Firefly, which the university provides too, for his creative work. Arthur on our systems team similarly uses these tools. He uses it for coding, because that's his role on the systems team. So it is, as he says there, increasing his efficiency, productivity, but also coming up with creative solutions. And this really is kind of the most positive spin on AI, right? It is not replacing our colleagues, it's enhancing them. It is kind of supercharging them and making them more productive and even more creative. Last but not least, Karen also on our marketing team using it for drafting notices and promotional posters. So yeah, I think that's something we didn't touch upon earlier in the presentations, apart from more library specific uses, just in our more day-to-day administrative work, how AI can help with that too. And so yes, the journey continues. Our current initiatives, subscribing to AI research tools. So we actually have 3 now: Consensus, Cite, and Scopus AI. But as Ben mentioned towards the tail end of his part of the presentation, we are really thinking about how do we assess the effectiveness of these subscriptions. That's something that's very much on my mind. Post subscriptions for library staff. And as I mentioned, our daily operations, we're exploring there too. So this is I'm not going to go into as much detail as Ryan did about our various projects, but just to give our catalog of them too, as we're encouraging everyone to do. We're also doing some face recognition. I do have a slide on that in a second. Our book right-sizing exercise, I'll talk about that too. There's a slide for that too. But OCR, I think Ryun gave some great examples. We're also trying that as well. This is more of a cataloging thing, SDG labels for IRIM. So the Sustainable Development Goals are really important to many universities. So our IRIMS is our institutional repository, basically. So we're trying to enhance the data in there by generating SDG labels for all of the faculty research output. AI book suggestions. So, in the past, we always just relied on faculty, right? Well, what are the recommended readings for your course? But now our liaison librarians are trying to be more proactive by getting course outlines and saying, well, maybe these readings would be good for your course, and kind of match things from the library collections. Very similar to what Ryun showed, we had a recent exhibition where we were presenting historical photos and other documents from our missionary collections, and we animated those photos and posters too. It really is effective in generating that engagement. It's just so much more eye-catching than the still images. And last but not least, plenty of AI-related content in our instruction workshops. So just a little bit more detail on those first two, again, very similar to CUHK. I didn't know this until my archivist told me. They have like 2,000 CDs and DVDs with apparently over 1 million photos just from 10 years worth of the university's history. So, of course, what they're trying to do there is identify key HKBU personnel, like one of our past presidents, Ng Ching Fai, and the vice presidents at the time. And the other one was my favorite euphemism, the book right-sizing, deselection, yes. So right now, our library team is very intensively selecting books from the collection that will be considered for withdrawal. And so there are many, many different colleagues working on that, and there's a lot of different Excel files. And my colleague Belle from Collection Management and Development, she was anticipating that there'll be like 160 Excel files. Now she's used the app creator in Poe to create a program that will be able to merge all of these files and create, the sort of the final list and say which librarians selected it, number that selected it, and et cetera, et cetera. And what I would emphasize is Belle has no coding experience whatsoever, but just through interacting with the Poe app creator, she was able to create a program to help her with this. So I think a fantastic example of how these AI tools can help us in our daily work. So what did we learn? Needs assessment, absolutely vital. We need to figure out what is most important for us, and that's going to be different for every library. Every library is unique and will have its individual needs. But I do think structured training works and will work for many other organizations too. So the multi-level approach, laying the foundation and really involving everyone. AI is not just for specialists. It's not just for particular teams. I do strongly believe everyone should be involved, at least at that foundational level, and that builds the confidence for colleagues to experiment with. I really do feel that approach has given permission for colleagues to try things that they might not have otherwise done if they felt that, oh, I shouldn't be using AI for that. The leadership and strategy, so just signaling support, through our participation in events like this, and coming up with more formal guidelines as well, and providing those clear guidelines, again, builds confidence and provides that direction. The fourth thing we've learned, the focus on practical applications. Not to be too straightforward, but when I showed my provost the exhibition with the Morris Hutton animations and the AI, then he can see very tangibly, oh, this is how one way in which the library is using AI and demonstrates our value. Last but not least, it's a continuous process, right? Our AI task force has met numerous times. I think we meet at least once every 2 months, something like that, Wallace. And as I mentioned, we have revised the guidelines once, and I think we will continue revising those guidelines. And all of our support for AI needs to be under continuous assessment, because it's changing very rapidly, as we all know. And so, yes, that's really it. We're very committed, as it says there, to this idea for a regional forum, more sharing, more structured collaborations with different libraries within Hong Kong and the wider region as well. Because I'm sure there are lots of exciting things happening at all of our libraries, and we're just not fully aware of them. So I really am curious and excited to find out about what other libraries are doing and learning from those experiences too. So thank you very much. That's it, and we've left. Wow, that's exactly what we agreed, 90 minutes. Brilliant.
So thank you, Chris, and thank you all speakers for the insightful sharing. And now is our time to open the floor for questions. So for on-site participants, if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand and we will bring the microphone to you. And for the Zoom participants, just type your question in the chat box and we will show it here. So who would like to kick things off with the first questions? Don't be shy. So any question from the on-site participants? So while you're thinking, I can check the chat box. Okay.
Thank you very much, Chris, Ben, and Ryan, for your insightful presentations and sharing with the professional community. So my question is, in universities or academic institutions, there are normally several parties involved in leading the application of AI, libraries, information technology centers, or sometimes teaching and learning centers. So what is your strategy or your experience in making sure that the library is always at the core, you know, of leading the university's AI implementation and strategy? Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for the question, Owen. As I touched upon briefly, at HKBU, we've been fortunate in the library that the university has kind of sought us out and included us. So the university librarian is a ex officio member of the e-learning committee at HKBU. And the e-learning committee has been kind of the major Senate committee where all of our initiatives and policies regarding AI have gone through. So I've always had the opportunity just to insert myself into the conversation when these things come up. So yeah, from the HKBU perspective, we've just been well, we have a good structure at HKBU, which has ensured that we are in the mix.
I think for CUHK, it is similar. There is a Educational Technologies Committee, which convenes, and our head of research and learning support represents the library in that committee. I would say, though, that a lot of the way that the library is kept involved in the conversations about support for AI comes from first-hand experience of the usefulness of the library's participation in events. And that is something which we've seen a number of times, that attendees, whether they're academics or student participants, their feedback tends to really highlight the usefulness of the library's contribution in those discussions or those events. And it's an area that we continue to try and be active in. So for instance, the guidelines I mentioned from our LibGuides were picked up by our Pro-Vice Chancellor Education as a important addition to put into the university-wide policy on AI use in CUHK. So those are cross-referenced, which is excellent in terms of ensuring that the library plays a role, but it's based on the usefulness of the library's role in those discussions and those events.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So any other questions from the on-site participants? Yes.
Thank you very much. Question for the panel. I'm curious about the library's role in promoting discourse or dialogue on sustainable use, ethical and sustainable use of AI. For example, about the environmental impact. I would like to know your views. Thank you.
I can start if you want on that one.
please go
So it's a really good question on ethics generally and sustainability specifically. For CUHK Library and the conversation about the sustainability of AI, there isn't a committee or specific task force looking at that in the university. So it's still something which we're conscious of, but we're not specifically trying to, for instance, reduce or manage the way that we use AI to minimize the environmental impact that we have. What we are doing is working with our Faculty of Engineering, our Department of Philosophy, and some of the university leadership to co-host a series of talks on ethics in AI, bringing together senior figures who are academic leaders in different aspects, different facets of the ethics, the ethical use of AI. So last month or 2 months ago, we had Professor Ruth Chang from the University of Oxford talking about aligning AI systems with human goals. So that by extension relates to ensuring that the environment that we live in is sustainable and that it is sound. But it's more at that level of almost philosophical and theoretical aspects as well as governance of AI, which the university is looking to the library to help to coordinate. I think sustainability will come more to the fore practically in the coming university strategic cycle for 2026 to 2030. But it's something which we're still in the kind of more nebulous phase in terms of understanding and then actioning that impact. Chris?
Well, thanks, Ben. I don't really have too much more to add to that. Just I would see the library's role as certainly raising awareness of those sustainability concerns. It's not something that I fully understand myself, beyond the fact that, yes, generative AI is very energy intensive. I guess just to be devil's advocate, there are many, many aspects of human activity that are energy intensive. So in what way is generative AI different from that, or what can we do to address that? I think I read somewhere, I can't remember, that when you prompt the AI, don't say please, because you're wasting energy. just ask it directly. So are those simple things like that? But I think around the whole raising awareness of ethics, I think that's part of the role of libraries, is to make sure that at least students are aware that it is an issue and to start thinking about it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the on-site participants? If no, okay, let's look at the chat box. So I saw
Wow, there's a lot here.
Yeah, there's a lot and very
Yeah, a question from.
okay. One more question.
Yeah. When you do the questionnaire, do you also ask about how well do the respondents know about how the students or their library users use AI? That means how do they, because we need to know how our users how to use AI in order to plan what we can do to support them using AI, right? So do you consider that part, or it will be the next step for your research?
Next step. No, I think it's a great idea. No, we did not address that in the survey, but I think you're right, Lester. It would be an interesting thing to ask respondents in a future survey. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And let's look at the chat box questions. Okay, the first question is, I think it's for Ben and Chris about their. Do you have data-specific types of training and workshop provided by the 21.5% of respondents?
I think similar to Lester's question, this is a great idea for The next round, no, we asked simply, do you provide training or workshops? No specific question about the types of training provided.
Yes, thank you. And the second question is, are there any regional disparity or notable differences between regions within the Greater Bay Area, such as Hong Kong and Guangdong?
Not that we noticed. Again, our sample sizes were a bit small, so it was even for Guangdong, it was 30 something, and only 7 in Macau. So even if there were slight differences, I don't think we could claim any statistical significance.
I think I agree with Chris, particularly on the Chinese, because the Chinese sample was so small relative to the size of Guangdong and Hong Kong and Macau. So it's hard to extract that. But in the paper, we do reflect briefly on the fact that respondents in Chinese seem to be less enthusiastic about AI than those in English language, which was surprising because of the observation Chris made at the beginning that the population of China, when asked the question, do you think that technology is going to make the future better, overwhelmingly answer yes, whereas other regions like particularly Europe are more pessimistic. And in our survey, that was reversed. However, we can't really make any meaningful inferences from that because it's such a small number that we received responses from. But it would be an interesting, I think, follow-up area to explore.
Yes, and I think the third question is for Ryun. And have you considered to develop an AI-based tools or system that assists graduate students in formatting their dissertation or thesis to comply with professor dissertation and thesis submission requirements, including layout validation, citation formatting, and PDF conversion?
We actually think about this, but on the other hand, we are thinking might be actually encouraging the plagiarism. So this is why we hesitate to open this for the student. So I thought we will better to use for internally to see what could happen. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. One more question for Chris. So could your colleagues do some training for HKL members too?
We can certainly discuss the possibility.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Yes, and I saw the last question is many academic publishers are concerned about researcher uploading licensed content such as subscription-based journal articles into AI platform or tools. How do you handle this in your institution?
I think for us at CUHK, as I mentioned, we are very grateful for the fact that many of the licenses that we have signed with publishers permit this type of use, and some more forward-looking publishers are also recognizing that this is indeed a legitimate use to further knowledge, which is why we're buying this stuff in the first place. So in a number of cases, it is something which we have already got arrangements in place to grant our researchers access to content that they can put into AI tools. However, there are two things. Some publishers haven't agreed these clauses, so there are some areas where this is a live issue, and some publishers are thinking when renewal time comes for these agreements, now that this is really useful, maybe we can make more money out of it. So it might be that in future rounds of negotiations, publishers say, well, you're now using this content that we're selling to you. And so we will have to be, well, my view is this: CUHK Library has been advocated for a culture of open science and open scholarship for a long time. The reason that we produce and access this material is to further knowledge. I don't think that we want to be paying more money to use material that is useful. The fact that we now have the tools to make this material actively part of the research process rather than just sitting in our libraries but not actively used is a great development. But I don't think a publisher can argue that now that you're using what we're selling you, you should pay more than before when we were selling it to you and you were not using it. So the way that we would look to handle this is to say, as part of the kind of environment we want to foster in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area around developing a hub for great research. We need this content and we need to continue to have access, and we need these tools and we need access to these tools. We're not going to pay twice for access to these new tools and access to what we're already paying for. We're not going to pay extra for that.
Yeah, completely endorse that. We're not paying extra for that. I think there is still a certain degree of confusion in this area. I recall there are some licenses that do explicitly state you're not allowed to use publisher content in conjunction with any AI tool. But frankly speaking, that's just unenforceable. We can try and make our patrons aware of that, but to stop them from uploading, a single chapter into one of these chat with a PDF sort of tools, there's no way we can police that. Perhaps they're thinking about it in the same way as excessive use, excessive download. But that's easy. Well, not easy, but that's possible for us to police because that can be detected. But someone downloading a single PDF and uploading it to an AI tool, that's not something that we can police. And I think the publishers need to have workable solutions for this and work with us in coming to some sensible conclusions. And as Ben was saying, a lot of these TDM clauses that were inserted years ago, thanks to the foresight of our electronic resources management librarians, are really helpful.
Yes, I saw a follow-up question. So from Vittorio, how do you share with the end user that, for example, a UG can upload some chapters or articles to different tools, Weekly Guide, newsletter, or others?
Does Tori mean can or cannot? I'm not sure. I mean, it says can, but I'm not sure that we would need to alert them of that. So on the assumption that it's cannot, what Tori means can. Thanks, Tori. Can. I mean, we don't advertise that directly to users. We just assume that they would use that if they wanted to. And one of the tools that we have is, okay. Well, actually, Tor, what we say is that you should not. I mean, we're more worried about the agreements where we have signed, where we say you're not allowed to. So actually, on our appropriate use of electronic resources page, we have a short section that says, you shouldn't do this, or according to our licenses, you shouldn't do this. But this is being recorded, right? It's like we don't enforce it too harshly. But of course, we at every orientation and when new students come in, we direct them to this. This is our appropriate use of electronic resources page, and we do have periodic reminders about that. But I think Tori points out a very good complication. Like if some publishers allow it and some don't, how do you communicate it? It's very difficult, as the question has illustrated.
Yes, thanks, Chris and Ben. And I saw another question. What are the AI agents used in CUHK to recommend LCC and LCS in cataloging? So, Ryan?
I know they are evaluating the ELMA, the AI agents, but ELMA is more universal, applied to universal piece. But I think each university have some local practice. So they want to train their own, not train, we can sort of fine tune, not train, we cannot train the AI agents. I also want to see university IT also aware library is one of the one to showcase the AI. So they partner us with these AI agents. They have a vendor. I think they have a meeting to talk about our requirement for this one, to how to use our local practice to fine tune the AI model. So not exactly we have the tools to use, but they are doing some kind of evaluation now.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So any other questions from the on-site participant or the Zoom participants? Let's take one more question. So, okay.
Yeah, I want to ask about the division of labor in the university setting. We are the library, of course. We also speak from the perspective of the library, but there's also the ITSO in the university. There may be other department like the Center of Learning and Teaching. So how do you usually collaborate with those departments to make a bigger impact, or are they in rivalry with each other?
I think it's a great question, because universities are supposed to be fostering joint working, whether that's in academic units or in professional services departments. Not all universities operate that way, either in Hong Kong or other parts of the world. To maximize the benefit of what we're doing, we need to not be competing and providing mirroring services, and we need to understand how does our support complement that of others. So what we've done in CUHK is we've had a few discussions with the other units, and where we've identified particular needs. So we've looked at it from what do students and staff need, and for instance around AI tools, we know that there is an acute need for more basic training and then tools-based training. For training of staff, last summer, we ran a joint training workshop, and it was driven by the library, our Human Resources Office, and the IT Services Centre of the university. And so that kind of, and actually also the Centre for Learning and Teaching Advancement. So bringing together all of the parties to have a conversation under the leadership of the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Education, but actually practically driven by the library team, was how we went about establishing that training. It got really good feedback. The sessions were really well attended, so we'll be running it again this summer and hopefully making it a regular program. It touches again on the points previously about if you do things which are useful and you're seen to be doing things which are useful, then others will want to team up with you. And I think if we tried to either go solo and tread on other units' toes, then we would get in trouble, and that would be fair to kind of get in trouble for that. So when we are looking to provide training for students or staff, we try and talk to the relevant other units and do things jointly. And reciprocally, we're getting contacted by our IT Services Centre. So when they run training sessions, they know, as Ryan said, that the library is a very keen customer. And they know that if they're delivering training, the library is likely to say, we'd be very happy to provide some supplementary training alongside. So it's working quite well organically. And over the coming years, I would hope that we will have a more explicit structure and set of documentation, as Chris explained, Hong Kong BU have had for a number of years now. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, very thought-provoking, and I would first fully endorse Ben's perspective that we don't want to create rivalries within the university. So I mentioned our e-learning committee as a kind of coordinating body. I think but we've been quite thoughtful in the library too. So we've restricted ourselves to what we call AI-powered research tools. So our support has been for tools like Consensus, like Scopus AI, which are very much focused on literature review, literature discovery, which has always been the domain of the library. We didn't try to provide access to DeepSeek or ChatGPT. That's rightly the domain of our Office of Information Technology. But similar to CUHK, we reach out to them. So for our recent, what do we call it, Wallace? AI, not Discovery Week. AI Imagine Week. Hub, sorry. You could it's not my strong suit, is memorizing the names of things. But we invited ITO to deliver a workshop as part of our series, which they were very happy to collaborate with us on. So basically it's communication and but being thoughtful, looking at your institution, who is involved or who might want to be involved, and making sure that you're not inadvertently stepping on anyone's toes, and just getting them involved. And that's been working out for us so far.
Okay, thank you. And I saw one follow-up from Victoria. So
No, I feel
um,
that too, Sylvie.
maybe in the license field in remote in future.
I think it makes sense. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you all for your engaging question and participating in today's discussions. And to wrap up today's event, may I invite our Vice President of the Hong Kong Library Association, Ms. Sita Lee, to deliver the closing remarks for us. Sita, please.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of Hong Kong Library Association, I would like to say thank you to our three incredible speakers. First is Mr. Christopher Chen and Mr. Benjamin Meunier, and also Ryun, for your valuable sharing and many good ideas to us. Today's speech actually give us a fantastic opportunities for all our librarians to have a explore the impact of our AI and emerging technologies in futures libraries. From the speech, I think everybody here can get some powerful strategies, and also not only the ideas, also we heard about challenges, also some ethical issue we have to encounter in our daily work or in our future libraries setting. So your contribution truly enrich our events, and I think all of members here can left us some variable and meaningful takeaways from this event. So also I have to say big thank you for two co-organizers. One is Hong Kong Baptist University Library, and also the Chinese University Library. Also our team, Professional Development Committee, to make these events happen and successful. Of course, your all friends here to be here, and also in the online participants make these events more fruitful. I saw the numbers is very happy, because as from Zoom we can see as more than 60 friends to join, and here I think it's over 32 people. So it's a good number and a good start for our first PD events. I think around 100, is it? We call 100 good start for our PD events. So can I have a big clap for all people here? And looking forward to seeing you all in the future PD events. And we all go to drive innovative, don't stop. And maybe you can still stay here and then chat with the three speakers, and they must also give you some significant or very valuable issue or their idea to share with all of